guys, welcome into my studio. So today we're going to do a product review of some Slice tools. So for those of you who don't know who Slice are, Slice are a company that make safer versions of traditional tools like box cutters, utility knives, pen cutters and craft knives. So basically, instead of having a steel blade, they have a ceramic blade. Now Slice claim that these ceramic blades last for about 11 times longer than your standard steel blade. Now I've been using Slice for my last couple of projects, the eye tutorial that I did, my cheetah picture and also my recent elephant picture. I've been using the same blade so far throughout them all. I've not had to change the blade since. However, I can't obviously comment on whether they do last 11 times longer or not, but they have lasted an awful lot longer than the steel blades that I was using. Now just for transparency, Slice have provided me with this sample kit to test out today, so I haven't had to pay for that, so big shout out to Slice for their generosity in that. So I was actually really excited when Slice contacted me and said they wanted to send me this sample pack to try out. Obviously with the medium that I use in Scratchboard, my primary tool is a craft knife. And I love the design of these tools, the black on the orange. They've always really attracted me to want to use them. So another thing I'm really excited about is to try out the different blades that Slice have sent. So most of the tools generally come with a straight edged blade, but it has a curved tip, so I've not really tried that before. I've only really been using the corner stripper blade. They've also sent me one of the what we'd sort of class as the number 11 blade. So it's the one that you generally associate with being on a craft knife. I've also got some of the narrow chisel blades, so I reckon they'll be quite good for clearing out some large areas if I'm ever doing a large piece. So I can't wait to get into this review and try them out for you guys. Right then guys, so I've got all the tools that Slice have sent laid out across the top, and down here at the bottom is the Slice tool that I've been using on my own. So I'm going to compare these top tools obviously to the one that I only know, which is this bottom one. So the first tool that we're going to have a little look at is the manual slim pen cutter. So for me, this is what I'd expect basically a standard Stanley knife almost to look like. So you deploy the blade just by pressing up this orange tab, and there's two different modes that you can have. So you can have it just popping out just a little bit like that, or you can have it fully deployed, which I find quite good. This blade's slightly different to the ones that we'll be using on the craft knife, in that again it looks a little bit like a Stanley blade. So the way that you have a look at the blade is you pull this top part and it just shows the blade there. The good thing though that I do find about this one is that once maybe this front side has gone a bit blunt, you're able to take it out and you can just flip it around and use that other side as well, which I think could be quite handy if I can work out how to get it back in. There we go, I worked out how to get it back in now. Right, so I'll pop that back on. So that's the manual slim pen cutter. Now this one is the, I guess they call it just a standard pen cutter. So if I'm comparing this one to this one, the first one that I showed you, I much prefer the shape of this one. I found this one a little bit, probably a little bit more difficult to hold if I was doing any artwork, just because of the shape, because it's a bit thinner. It doesn't feel quite natural in my hand. Whereas this one is shaped a little bit more like a pen, so it's a little bit more comfortable to grip, and again you can deploy the blade in two different ways. Again, same blade that you'd use in this one, so you can take that blade out and flip it around in the exact same way, so you just pull this top bit off here, but it feels lovely, it feels really comfortable in the hand, which is good. Now this one here is the one that I want to try out the most, to be honest, because I think it's the upgraded version of what I've actually got. So this is the tool that I've actually been using. So it is just the craft knife, however it's come with this little orange top on it. Now the only problem that I found is that this orange top, it doesn't really click on, it just slides on a little bit, and it never really feels that secure when it's on the end. Now you can twist it around and pop it on the top, and it is a little bit more secure on there, but I keep forgetting to do that, to be honest, and I keep just leaving it about and I end up losing the top for it. So it seems I've made a little bit of a upgrade in design, and instead of having just the safety cap that you pop on, it's actually got a slide down sheath, if that's what you want to call it, and then that protects you from the blade that's on the end, which I think is really cool. So it means that I don't have to worry about where I'm putting the knife lid. It can roll off the table, doesn't really matter, because all you need to do with this one is just twist and pull that down, which I think is really cool. Again, feels exactly the same as the one that I've got here. I love this brushed metal as well. Feels really comfortable just to hold. Again, because it's a thinner version of, well, generally just a thin pen, really. It's a little bit easier to hold than this thick one here, the bigger pen cutter, really. So I really do like that one. And to be honest, I think that will be the one that I end up using the most. So this one, this is I think it's just a scalpel, to be honest. It is very, very thin. Again, it's got this cap that you just remove. And again, it's got a lovely design, but I just feel like it's very light, but it might just be a little bit, if I'm holding this for any length of time, the square shape might just be a little bit uncomfortable in my hand. I'm actually really intrigued by this one that they've got here. So this is the retractable precision cutter, and it's shaped very much just like a normal pen. However, the blade pops out in a very small compartment just here. So I'll just click it down for you guys to see. It's hard to see with the light that I've got here, but you've got a very small blade that just pokes out the end. So I reckon this one might be a really good one to try. Again, this is replaceable as well. It's a slightly different blade concept. It seems to come in almost like a sealed unit, but the orange blade that pops out the end is replaceable as well. Right guys, so now what we're going to do is test out the different marks that these different blades can make. Now, obviously we don't have a great deal of tools when we're working in Scratchboard. It is mainly some form of knife to take the top layer of India ink off. So we always look for different tools that can provide different marks for different types of things, really. So along the top, I've written down the most common marks that I make. So when I say dark marks, I mean very, very faint marks. So it's quite important to me that a tool can be versatile enough to leave quite light, bright marks and quite dark marks as well. I don't want to be able to just go in straight away and accidentally leave quite bright marks, sorry. Another one that I'm going to try is stippling. So stippling is quite a common technique that I use, and it's just creating little dots. Cross hatching, which is basically lines that overlap each other in sort of a crossing pattern. And then finally fur. So obviously I'm a wildlife artist mainly, so the ability to create fur is quite an important one for me. Down this left side here, I've written down the name of the blade and also the number, in case you're looking for it on the Slice website. This is the number it goes by. I initially thought that there was 4, but I've just had another look at this pen cutting tool here, and the blade on it is actually different to what I thought it was. So I thought it was quite similar to this blade, which is the straight edge with the curved tip. But this one's actually slightly different. So I might, if I have some room later on my board, I may just try a little bit just down in the corner, just so we know if that's going to make much of a difference or not. So the blades that we've got are, like I say, the straight edge with the rounded tip, the straight edge with the pointed tip. Now I haven't got enough pens to keep rotating them, so I'm going to use the scalpel, because you can just pull the blade out and pop this new one in quite quickly compared to the other ones. We've also got this flat edge, which I think is going to be great for, like I say, taking a lot of ink off the board. And then finally I've got my sort of regular that I've gone with before Slice sent me all this. So this is just the corner stripping blade as well. So we're going to start off with this one just because I'm quite comfortable in knowing how this one works. So up in this corner, we're just going to try some very light marks and see what's the lightest mark that we can get with it. So you might not be able to pick this up on camera because it is quite light. Yeah, it's working quite well, which is good. But to be honest, I knew this one worked quite well for light fur. Light mark, sorry, just because I've been using it, like I say, for the last couple of boards that I've been working on. So I'm going to move along to the light mark. So when I say light, I mean bright, not light as in pressure. So I'm going to press quite hard to get these light marks and just see if it leaves quite a substantial mark. So yeah, so it leaves quite a good mark. You can probably see that a little bit better than the dark marks that you can on camera. It's quite bright, not as bright as another blade that I'll show you later, but it is quite bright. So I'm going to try some stippling now. Sorry if this is juddering the camera. Now I'll zoom in on all these marks once I've completed them, just so you can get a better idea of what it looks like. But yeah, works exactly as I thought. And cross hatching. So I don't really use much cross hatching in my work, to be honest. I probably should, to be honest. But so again, yep, exactly the same as what I thought. Now, instead of doing first rows, because that's basically what I've done in these two columns, I'm going to maybe see if there's any sort of special feature with them. So obviously with this corner blade, you've got a blade along one side and a blade along the other. So I'm just wondering, are you able to, if I lay it flat, would I be able to get a thicker mark? Not really. I might be able to on some of the other ones, but no. And it ends up going quite jittery, so it's not a smooth mark with that one. So this next one that we're going to try is, to be honest, one that I haven't tried with slice yet. So this is the sharp straight edge tool with the pointed tip. Now this one's what you'd sort of expect to have with any sort of craft knife. So it's quite a common one. Most people call it a number 11 blade, but it's quite sharp at the tip, which is good. Should mean that you can get some quite precise marks. Now, because it is quite sharp, well, very sharp to be honest, it's making it a little bit difficult to get some light marks. Now I'm barely touching the board with the knife here, and it's already leaving marks that I'd probably not want to be that bright. Okay, so we'll move on to the lighter marks. So it's really quite good at tapering my stroke. So it's ending up getting quite thin at the ends, which is quite good. It means it looks a little bit more like fur than probably what the corner stripping blade was. However, I have just noticed that the point has already dulled down slightly. Don't know if you're able to see that. It's quite hard on camera. But only ever so slightly, just not as sharp. But to be honest, it was so sharp at the beginning, I'd expect that. So stippling as well works really well with this one, again because it's so sharp and so precise. You're able to get quite some stippling marks quite close together, which is really good. Now I know you're going to really struggle to see this on camera, so like I say, at the end I'll lift this board up so you can see all the marks that I've been able to make with it. I may even scan it and leave it in the description for you guys. Okay, so we'll try cross hatching. So in my earlier video, in the earlier part of the video, sorry, I thought this blade was going to be a bit uncomfortable just because of how thin it was. But to be honest, because of how light it is, it feels really nice actually. You can barely tell you're holding it. And that might be quite useful if you're doing some drawing for an extended period of time. And to be honest, it means that I've been able to sort of feather my strokes a bit easier, which is quite good. Now, with these blades in the past, with craft knives, sometimes you can leave it point on and get some really, really thin lines with it. And this will probably be what the special feature is with this blade. I wish I hadn't written fur up there now because it's all gone a bit all over the place. So we'll just change it. These two here will be fur. This one will be, imagine that says special features. I like this one. I like this blade. Very nice. Very good. Right then. So the next one we're doing is the narrow chisel. If I can find where I put it. So this one, like I thought, is going to be, I think, quite good in taking out large areas of Scratchboard, to be honest. Now just notice that this end and the other end are both angled slightly down. Sorry, I just knocked the camera. They're angled slightly down to a point. So again, if you found, I'll just take it out and show you. So if you found that maybe this end had gone a little bit blunt, you could probably just swap it around and use this other end, which is quite good because if Slice are correct in saying that these blades last 11 times longer than a normal steel blade, and you're basically getting double that amount really. Now this one's really hard to get light strokes with, so you can already probably see the difference in, let's say, compared to this one up here, that you can probably barely see on camera compared to this one down here. I can even see that on camera, so it's quite hard to get light marks with this one. And to be honest, it's hard to see how precise you're being because the way you're holding your blade, this top corner sort of hides what you're looking at, so it's not as easy to get precise marks as it is with this straight edge blade. So it's probably the brightest out of the three so far. Stippling, I reckon, is going to be a little bit difficult. Yeah, because I'm struggling to sort of see where I'm putting the dots because this side of the blade is just covering what I'm doing. So I probably wouldn't use this for stippling. I'd probably maybe use it for this lighter, brighter fur. So again, I think it's going to be the same with cross hatching. So I can't quite see where I'm putting my marks down. It just makes it a little bit harder to see what you're doing. Right, so we'll now see what it's like sort of removing a large area. So I'm just going to hold it flat to the board and see what happens. Not as good as I thought. It's quite patchy in places. I'll try just holding it at a different angle, just see if that helps. I have quite a lot of marks really close together to give that impression, but this one, because it's got this slightly curved edge to it, you can get quite thick marks, which will be really good in sort of emulating thicker fur. Again, like, to be honest, I expected it wouldn't be great with stippling, just because of this rounded edge. I think the two ones that are really good at stippling are the corner stripper and just that straight edge. That straight edge sort of takes it. But this one, out of all of them so far, this one's probably the most comfortable to hold. I'm getting all black injury ink on my hands. So again, with the cross hatching, it's leaving a brighter mark, so I'm not even pressing that hard. It's leaving quite bright marks. So I'm really quite happy with this one, because for a while now I've been using these this other blade, but that goes quite blunt quite quickly. So I might be able to use this one along with some of the other blades to sort of replace that one really. There's no real sort of special features of this one apart from, like I say, to to create that thicker looking fur. I'll just do a couple of strokes. Right then, so like I said earlier in this part of the video, this tool here actually has a slightly different blade, and if I just extend it out for you, it's not cut off on so much of an angle. So I'm going to try this one. I'm going to try it just down the middle where sort of it's not coming up on camera, and just see if I can get a similar type of mark, or even a better type of mark than what I've just tried. So tell you what, we'll go just try and figure out somewhere to go just on this middle part here. So we'll go for some light strokes. Again, a little bit difficult to get the very light strokes. Like all I'm doing is letting the weight of the pen rest on the board when I'm scratching. And so I probably wouldn't use this one if I was trying to get some very light marks. Let's try this harder mark. So again, works really well. Very similar to the narrow chisel. I'm sort of somewhere in between these two, so I'm kind of glad it's worked out pretty well going in between the two, because it's actually in between both of them on here as well. So yeah, works pretty well. Stippling, a lot easier than the narrow chisel because I can actually see where I'm stippling now, which is good. Just a quick bit of cross hatching. My cross hatching is absolutely terrible. Really need to work at that. Right then, so the special feature with this one, I'm actually gonna, I normally, I probably hold the blade this way when I'm doing my, this way when I'm doing my scratching. But just through the shape of this one, I'm just gonna hold it a slightly different way because of how the angle of the blade works. I might be able to get a really thick mark. There we go. There we go. So that one works really well with getting these thicker marks for thicker fur strokes. So that's actually really surprising. I wasn't expecting that, especially with this blade. So I'm really quite happy with that actually. So what I'm going to do now, so I've showed you how all these tools work. I'll probably scan. Actually, no, I won't scan it. I'll lift it up just so you can see a little bit clearer. So I'll start at the top for you. So these are the light marks. These are the harder marks. The stippling probably hasn't really changed throughout. I don't really want to show you my cross hatching because it's terrible. And then just some special marks that you can make with them. So what I'm going to do, because Slicer sent me out all these blades, I'm going to create an artwork that is made only using these slice tools. So after doing all this and these mark making, I think I'm definitely going to use this pen cutter, just because the thickness of the marks that I can get here is just amazing. So I'm really impressed with this one. I'm probably going to use a straight edge blade. Obviously my standard's corner stripping one just because of the level of light mark that I can get. But I'm going to sort of play around with the tools a little bit more in an actual artwork that I'm going to create. And I'll do a tutorial for it as well. But yeah, I hope you found this this sort of review of Slice helpful. Hopefully if you're going to go buy something from them, this might give you a little bit of an idea about the different tools that they do, about the different blades that they offer. But by all means, try out a couple, depending on the type of art what you're doing. Obviously I'm more of a wildlife artist than, let's say, a portrait artist. So the types of tools that work for me may not work for you. So give it a go, try out some different tools, and I'd love to see what you create.